Just like that, we're already at the point in the college football season where we have the playoff rankings. The AP poll means nothing anymore, and it all comes down to what the committee has to say. Unfortunately, I'm not on the college football playoff committee this season, but if I was, here's how my top 25 would look as we enter week 10. Before we get to today's video, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are that you love college football. And odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel, so make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. Ohio State had a pretty close game with Penn State, but they were able to pull away in the fourth quarter and ended up winning by 13 points. Offensively, it wasn't your typical Buckeyes performance. They had only 21 first downs and they had fewer than 100 yards on the ground. The main reason they were able to pull out the victory in this game was the fact that they forced 4 Penn State turnovers. I mean, for the game, the Nittany Lions had more first downs and more total yards than Ohio State did, but it was those turnovers that proved to be costly. Tennessee just continues to impress as they took down number 19 Kentucky 44-6. This was a close game after the first quarter as the Vols led by only 1 point, but they outscored Kentucky 37-0 the rest of the way. Hendon Hooker was great once again as he threw for 250 yards with 3 passing touchdowns. As a team, Tennessee rushed for nearly 200 yards with 3 rushing scores. I know we always talk about this Tennessee offense being one of the best in the entire country, but their defense had arguably their best performance of the entire season. They held Kentucky to only 6 points, including 14 first downs and only 200 yards of total offense. Georgia handled Florida with ease as they defeated them by 22 points. The Gators were able to make this game a little interesting in the second half, but Georgia responded instantly and still won by 3 scores. Georgia looked unstoppable on offense as they had nearly 600 yards of total offense. There were times when Florida had their way with this defense, but when it mattered most, the Bulldogs defense stepped up and helped them win the game. Michigan moved to 8-0 on the season with their 22-point victory over Michigan State. This game looked like it'd potentially be interesting as the Wolverines trailed at the end of the first quarter, but they outscored the Spartans 26-0 over the final 3 quarters. Blake Corum continues to add to his Heisman campaign as he had 180 yards on the ground with a rushing score. He also caught a pass for a touchdown as well. Meanwhile, on defense, the Wolverines were able to hold the Spartans to only 11 first downs for the entire game. They also held them to only 37 rushing yards on 23 attempts. Clemson was off this week, so I have them at number 5. Alabama was also off this week, and I have them at number 6. Up next is TCU, who was on upset watch against West Virginia. This was a back and forth game, but ultimately the Horned Frogs pulled out the 10-point victory. Max Duggan continues his insane start to the season as he threw for 340 yards with 3 passing touchdowns. As I mentioned, this was a crazy back and forth game as West Virginia was truly in this one until the final minutes. But still, TCU was able to pull out the victory, and they're now 8-0 on the season and really look like they have a shot of reaching the college football playoff. We're about to start a stretch where I have 4 consecutive Pac-12 teams. The first is Oregon as they took down Cal by 18 points. Bo Nix continues his Heisman campaign as he threw for over 400 yards with 3 passing touchdowns while adding 3 touchdowns on the ground as well. This is yet another game in which Oregon won with ease after their week 1 loss to Georgia. Not only is the Pac-12 up for grabs, there's currently a spot in the college football playoff that I really think is going to be taken by a Pac-12 team. Right behind Oregon is USC, who defeated Arizona 45-37. This was a game in which Arizona hung around, but USC always seemed to respond with a big play that would extend their lead. Caleb Williams had probably his best game of the season as he threw for over 400 yards with 5 passing touchdowns. The defense continues to be a little concerning with the Trojans as it seems like they really struggle stopping anybody, but with one of the top offenses in all of college football, it's going to save them for yet another week. After losing their first game of the season last week, UCLA responded with a nice 25-point victory over Stanford. Dorian Thompson-Robinson had 250 total yards with a touchdown, while Zach Charbonnet added 200 yards on the ground with 3 rushing scores. UCLA is now 7-1 on the season, and although they lost last week, they still have a shot of reaching the Pac-12 title game, and they're still a dark horse candidate to reach the college football playoff. Wrapping up this streak of Pac-12 teams is Utah, who took down Washington State 21-17. This game got a little interesting in the fourth quarter as the Cougars scored 10 unanswered points, but the Utes were able to hold on late for the victory. With 2 losses on the season, Utah likely isn't going to reach the college football playoff, but they're right in the hunt of the Pac-12 title game. In arguably the most impressive win of the entire weekend, Kansas State took down number 9 Oklahoma State 48-0. I mean, just winning any game 48-0 over a Power 5 team is impressive, but when you do it against the number 9 team in the country, that's almost historic. Will Howard was excellent for the Wildcats as he threw for 300 yards with 4 passing touchdowns. Deuce Vaughn had one of his best games of the season as he rushed for 160 yards with a rushing score while catching 4 passes with a receiving touchdown. Although the offense was looking fantastic, it was this Kansas State defense that really was the MVP of this game. Coming into the contest, Oklahoma State had one of the best offenses in all of college football, and they were held scoreless. After losing their first game last weekend, Ole Miss responded with a 3-point victory on the road at Texas A&M. Jackson Dart had 3 passing touchdowns, and as a team, Ole Miss rushed for nearly 400 yards. Although last week's loss hurt, they're still tied for first place in their division in the SEC and still have a shot of reaching the SEC title game. LSU was off this week, so here's where I have them ranked. North Carolina is now 7-1 on the season after picking up an 18-point victory over Pittsburgh. Drake May continues to add to his Heisman resume as he threw for 400 yards with 5 passing touchdowns. He also led the team in rushing with 60 yards on the ground. This is a North Carolina team that quietly just continues to win, and they're one of only 2 teams in the ACC that is undefeated in conference play, joining Clemson. Illinois won their 6th straight game as they defeated Nebraska 26-9. Tommy DeVito completed 20 of 22 passes for 180 yards with 2 touchdowns, while Chase Brown added 150 yards on the ground with a rushing score. This Illinois defense was able to hold Nebraska to only 9 points and only 9 first downs. They were also able to force 4 turnovers. I know a lot of people like to talk about Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State when it comes to the Big Ten, but don't sleep on Illinois, who currently has the 3rd best record in conference play and looks like they have a strong shot of playing in the Big Ten title game. Tulane was off this week, so here's where I have them ranked. It looked like Penn State had a shot of pulling off the upset in this game, but they fell to Ohio State by 13 points. Sean Clifford threw for nearly 400 yards with 3 passing touchdowns, but he threw 3 costly interceptions that really hurt the Nittany Lions. For the game, they had 4 turnovers, and that's what ended up being the difference maker. Had Penn State cut those turnovers to only 2 or 1, and there's a strong chance they pull out the victory in this contest. But that's now 2 losses in the last 3 weeks for Penn State, and their chances of reaching the Big Ten title game are now officially shot. Oregon State was off this weekend, so here's where I have them ranked. NC State was able to avoid the upset as they scored 12 unanswered points in the 4th quarter to take down Virginia Tech by 1 point. They entered the 4th quarter trailing by 11 points, but scored 12 unanswered points to pull out the victory. MJ Morris had a solid game at quarterback, filling in for Devin Leary. He threw for 260 yards with 3 passing touchdowns. Although NC State doesn't have a shot of reaching the ACC title game, they still have a chance of reaching a solid bowl game if they're able to win out the rest of the season. Syracuse suffered their 2nd straight loss as they fell to Notre Dame by 17 points. Overall, it just wasn't a great day for the offense as they had only 15 first downs and less than 300 yards of total offense. Meanwhile, on defense, they allowed Notre Dame to score 41 points and total nearly 400 yards of total offense. One of the more embarrassing losses of the entire season goes to Oklahoma State, who fell to Kansas State 48-0. This was an offense that was one of the best in the entire country coming into this contest, and they were held without a single point. Spencer Sanders really hurt his Heisman chances as he completed half of his passes for 150 yards with no touchdowns and an interception. Meanwhile, on the ground, the Cowboys rushed for only 54 yards on 30 rushing attempts. The second worst loss goes to Wake Forest, who fell to Louisville 48-21. Wake Forest entered the game having only 1 loss, and they were ranked number 10 in the country, but Louisville completely dismantled them in the second half, outscoring them 35-7. Sam Hartman threw for only 270 yards and had 3 interceptions. Meanwhile, on the ground, Wake Forest rushed for 92 yards on 46 attempts. Texas didn't play this weekend, so here's where I got them ranked. Cracking the top 25 for the first time all season is Louisville, who, like I just talked about, picked picked up a 27-point victory over number 10 Wake Forest. For the Cardinal, this is their 3rd consecutive victory, and they've won 4 of their last 5, with their lone loss coming by 1 point. Malik Cunningham had 200 yards of total offense with 2 touchdowns for the game. We've talked about a lot of teams in the ACC being really solid this season, but quietly, Louisville has made a name for themselves and established themselves as one of the top teams in the entire conference. Well, there's my top 25 after week 9. Let me know in the comment section what you think about the rankings. Was there a team I had ranked too high, or a team that was ranked too low, or was there a team not even on the list that should have been on here? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comment section. Before you leave, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. I'll be posting college football videos every day during the rest of the season, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, make sure to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm and helps share the video with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.